You ever walk into a room and feel the air shift? Like the walls themselves are holding their breath. That's exactly how it felt that Tuesday morning in room 214. The desks were the same old scratched-up laminate. The fluorescent lights still buzzed like a tired wasp, and the kids. Well, we were just trying to make it to lunch without losing our minds. But Mrs. Geller? She was different that day. Her smile was tighter. Her voice clipped. And her eyes? Her eyes scanned the room like she was looking for someone to blame. That someone, as it turned out, was my son, Andre. Andre's a quiet kid. Always has been. He's the kind that would rather miss recess than turn in messy handwriting. He takes after his mom that way. Thoughtful, patient, and he's got this way of sitting in class that makes it look like he's trying to disappear into the desk. Not because he's shy though, he kind of is, but because he knows he has to work twice as hard to be seen the same. Now, what most people in that school didn't know and what Mrs. Geller certainly hadn't figured out was that I'm the principal. And that day, I happened to be sitting in the back of the classroom, doing one of those unannounced drop-ins we sometimes do. Just observing. That's all I intended. Observe the flow, the engagement, the learning. But within 5 minutes, I wasn't observing teaching. I was watching a slow-motion train wreck. Mrs. Geller called on Andre. Not a surprised raised his hand. But she didn't let him finish his answer. She cut him off mid-thought and turned to another student, praised them for saying almost the exact same thing. The whole class caught it. Some of them looked at Andre, then back at her, confused. But they stayed quiet. Kids learn early when it's safer to stay quiet. Then she circled around again. Andre, she said, loud enough to stop every pencil in the room. You really should be putting in more effort. I expect more from you. More effort? Andre spends hours on his assignments. He asks for feedback. He's not perfect, but he tries, and he tries hard. And she said it like his work was a disappointment not just to her, but to humanity as a whole. I watched my son lower his head, not because he was ashamed of his work, but because he knew, in that moment, no matter what he did, it wasn't going to be enough. Now, I'm used to dealing with tough situations. I've been in this job long enough to see teachers on good days, bad days, and everything in between. But what I saw in that room went beyond a bad day. It was a pattern, subtle, cutting, and absolutely unacceptable. Because Mrs. Geller didn't treat all her students the same. You could see it in who she smiled at, who she called on, who she joked with. The kids who looked like her, they got warmth, patience, encouragement. Kids like Andre, they got clipped tones, cold stares, and little jabs wrapped in fake concern. And still I sat there, watching, taking notes, not reacting, because I knew if I stood up too soon, if I said something in the moment, I might make it worse for Andre. Might make him the center of a storm he didn't ask for. So I waited. I let it play out. But then she crossed a line. She picked up Andre's worksheet, held it up, and said to the class, "This is what happens when you don't try hard enough." The room went dead silent. Then she added, "Some people just aren't raised to care about their education the same way others are." And that was it. The racism didn't even try to hide behind professionalism. It stood there, naked, in front of 25 kids, poisoning the air. Andre didn't say a word, didn't flinch, but I saw his hand clench around his pencil, knuckles white. I felt it in my gut. That instinct to protect your child, to throw the desk across the room, to make it stop. But I didn't do that. I stood up. Mrs. Geller turned around, startled. I don't think she'd even remembered I was there. She straightened up, gave me that fake professional smile, and said, "Oh, Mr. Daniels, I didn't realize you were still observing." I walked toward her. Not fast, not loud, just steady. And when I stopped, I looked her in the eyes and said, "There's something you need to know. The student you humiliated today, that's my son." Her face went slack, eyes wide, color drained. You could hear the breath leave the room. I didn't realize," she whispered. "I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to." "That's the problem," I said. "You didn't realize. You didn't care. And you did it in front of every single one of your students. She tried to backpedal. Something about misunderstanding, about tone, about intention. But I cut her off. It doesn't matter what you intended. What matters is what you said, what you've done. And what you've done, Mrs. Geller, is failed your students, especially the ones who needed you to do better. Then I told her we'd be continuing this conversation in my office. I dismissed the class. The students filed out slowly, all eyes on me, on Andre, on her. No one said a word, but they all knew something real had just happened. The meeting that followed was short, quiet, final. Mrs. Geller was suspended, investigation pending. And yes, I recommended termination. But the story doesn't end there. Andre and I talked that night, not just about what happened, but about what it meant, about dignity, about how you can be right and still be quiet, and how sometimes silence isn't strength. Sometimes it's just survival. He asked me if he did anything wrong. That broke me, because that's what bias does. It makes good kids question themselves. So I told him no. I told him he was brave, that he handled it better than most adults would. Over the next few weeks, word got around. Other students came forward, quiet ones who'd felt the same sting from Mrs. Geller and others like her. We started having real conversations. In staff rooms, in classrooms, at home. We set up training. Real training, not just check-the-box stuff. We formed a student-led panel. We made space for voices that had been ignored. Andre even spoke at an assembly, told his story, not just the pain, but the part after, the healing, the hope. I watched him up there. My son, the kid who once tried to disappear into his desk, now standing in front of the whole school, telling them that who they are matters, that their voice matters. And I realized, this wasn't just about that Tuesday. It was about every day that came after. Every kid who would walk into that room and know they were safe, seen, heard. So yeah, that day in room 214 started as just another day. But it ended as something else entirely. It ended as the day we stopped being silent. The day we chose to change. And now I want to hear from you. What would you have done if that was your child? Your student? Do you think schools are doing enough to stop this kind of bias? Leave your thoughts below. Share your stories. Because silence may feel safe, but change, real change, starts when we speak. Let's talk. Let's listen. Let's do better together. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story on Store of Good Stories. If this story touched your heart or made you think, don't forget to hit like and share the video to spread this positive message to more people. And if this is your first time here, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of the meaningful stories we share every week. Your support is the biggest motivation for Store of Good Stories to keep bringing heartfelt and valuable stories to you. See you in the next video.